So this is 2024's History International Film Festival Austria. We start today with our interviews. The first one is Jeff Hughes. He made a documentary called Centaur. Centaur is a documentary about a ship. It's in our time frame number 4, and Jeff is personally with us today, and he will answer us some questions today. Would you please describe what film you made? You could give a small summary of the plot or the story behind it, and what kind of production it is.
Well, Centaur was made. It was originally started back in 2021, and then most of us experienced COVID around the world, so it shut it down basically for a year and a half, and it was put on the shelf. But basically, the documentary is about the sinking of the AHS Centaur in Australian waters, and AHS stands for Australian Hospital Ship. It was sunk back in World War II. And nearly everyone on board, we won't get into figures and facts, but nearly everyone on board perished. And it was such a tragedy being a ship of mercy, a hospital ship that was basically taking wounded and, from both sides back for care. For that to go down and be torpedoed by a Japanese submarine, it was a tragic event in Australia's military history. And it was one that needed to be commemorated, especially leading into 2023, which was the 80th anniversary of the sinking of the hospital ship.
Okay, great. So making a historical movie, a film about historical events, is a special challenge for filmmakers. How did you approach it? Why even make a historical film? Why don't you make films about contemporary topics or just the present?
That's a great question. I think first and foremost, I run a charity, a veterans charity in Australia, and it's very important for us to commemorate our veterans and the service they have made to all of our countries, regardless of borders. Every country in the world has servicemen and women that have basically upheld country rights and citizens' rights. So to make historical, accurate documentaries is very, very important to me. It's about the truth. Storytelling is as old as time, no matter what culture you come from. We always catch up when we talk about people's days, people's weeks between we see them, and it's all about the story. And I think in making a documentary about a historical topic, we're remembering. I think there's a great quote mentioned by a lady named Jan Thomas, who lost her father aboard the Centaur. The way we remember history is by doing something about it. So it's about commemorating people's service. It's about remembering, and the best way to remember these days, we're talking about technological advancements that jump forth, so much in a year. We've got to see it, we've got to listen, and we've got to understand. And I think documentary filmmaking is a bridge to those emotional connections that we can make with the past.
Yeah. You're talking about something like interpersonal motivation to make historical films. Was there also a personal, very subjective reason why you especially are interested in the topic and in history in general?
My personal past, I worked in the film industry in Canada before coming to Australia, and I think when everybody goes into the industry, they want to be Steven Spielberg, or they want to be someone of great importance to create these magnificent works of fiction and nonfiction. To me, it was just something I would gravitated towards, about telling a truthful cinema verite, if you want to get specific and historical about it, but it's telling the truth on film. And I think for me, it wasn't about science fiction. It wasn't about drama. It wasn't. The drama was in the true stories, and I think when you look at veterans around the world, often those true stories aren't told. And there's no better way of telling them than having veterans tell them themselves. And I mentioned Spielberg, and you look at Band of Brothers, that's what films and entertainment, that the whole entertainment industry is about. I think it used to be about escape because people wanted to forget and relax for a little while. I think more importantly, it's about connection these days. And a science fiction film still has human emotion in it, somewhere along those plot lines. And I think what documentary film is, it's kind of human emotion amplified. So it's very important not to forget the past because essentially the past is what's made us who we are today.
Okay. Uh, Jeff, what we can hear already is that you have a lot of experience with making films like this. You are a veteran of our industry as well, and you have quite a big philosophical perspective on all those topics that we can already hear. Has your perspective on making films about history shifted over the years? Has it changed somewhat?
I think I went to university as a student, not knowing what he wanted to study. He loved movies, but I ended up finding myself taking history courses and film courses, and I didn't know why. I didn't know why until I've reached the age I am now, and for the past 4 or 5 years, I've been running a charity with a partner, and it wasn't until that moment the penny dropped, and I'm like, that's why I have the history degree. I never knew before, but for now, like now it's making all the sense in the world. So yeah, it's been a funny journey, and it has changed a little bit. I knew I always wanted to be in media and creating films and creating television, and I think society kind of pushed you towards that business videos, website videos, that corporate slant on interviews and testimonials. And, I think you dabble in a lot of things, but ultimately you find out where your true north is. And for some reason, it's actually helping groups that haven't had a voice in the past or haven't had a loud enough voice to share their stories. And so that's where it's kind of developed into what I'm doing now.
Mhm.
And do you feel you have gotten support from both your target audience and maybe your country or your government in producing and bringing the finished film to an audience?
I think there's been a lot of support in Australia when it comes to the veteran community, the ADF community. It does take a long time to build trust with people that, particularly a cohort of people that I'm not a part of. I'm not a veteran myself, but I actually work in the veteran industry. So it does take a long time to build trust. And one real intention of ours when we founded This Story Australia was to keep it a charity. Um, you know, Documentary film is so important to cut through all of the the white noise that is media, people's opinions these days, and to create this company as a charity to create films means that we're not selling anyone's story for somebody else to make money. We're honoring the veteran's actions, his service or her service, and commemorating them in the best way we can. And certainly, there's not a price tag upon that. I think it's a noble pursuit, and it's really important for us to reach out to those smaller, I guess, cohorts or communities in society that don't have a voice.
Jeff, we think that every topic, every historical time frame has plus sides and quite negative sides to work on. Things that benefit the production, like being able to talk to the people involved in an event in person, or have archive material, or have a subject that is kind of mysterious still. What do you think were some of the benefits, the plus sides of your topic in this production in particular?
I think when we set out to make this film, it wasn't just about commemorating the act of the sinking of the Centaur. We wanted to talk about intergenerational trauma. So the children, the wives, the partners that were left behind because of the tragedy, and how that's impacted people today in our society. You know, if these things go untold, there's a lack of understanding. There's a lack of an opportunity to create empathy. And so I think kind of approaching a historical documentary like that, it's important to get stories from the people who are closest to the topic. And it could be, antiquity. You know, you're not going to have too many people close to the topic of antiquity if you're doing something about a story in Greece. But you can get the people closest to it, which would be the researchers, the professors, the people who have been skilled in that area. And I think doing something that is only 80 years old. I know it's only 80 years old, 80 years since the sinking of the Centaur, but we had children to talk to, children of the people who have passed away. We had grandchildren. We had people who had letters from their serving relatives that were sent home. So having that tangible evidence in your hand made it easier, and it also created a level of excitement. Like, oh, I've got to put this in the film. You know, the audience needs to see this, and it's almost like a research project unfolding as you're creating the documentary. So no, very worthwhile, and it's quite an exciting puzzle to piece together.
It's a Gesamtkunstwerk always with film, and going into historical events brings so much more perspective into the whole concept of it. It evolves and it grows while doing the production, and it enriches itself by going into the research and doing where your interests lay. We can see that, well, it had its special challenges next to the benefits that the time and the topic provides. Could you give us some examples that were challenging you in a way that maybe hasn't been something before, or a novum in the way you approach the topic and you work around
anticipated?
Yeah, maybe it's something that was totally unexpected.
Yeah, I think the boring answer is COVID. So we'll skip over that. But it was started in 2021, and there was money behind it in 2021. So when we had to shelve it for a little while and then come back to it, we didn't know if it'd be successful pursuit, or if it was something that was never going to get up and going again. I think one of the challenges is also, if you're speaking to people, if you're interviewing people who are associated with the event, particularly an event that happens historically, you're generally dealing with older people, which brings into play, health, accessibility, and appropriateness when it comes to an interview. Whether they could be completely with it in their mind and know what they want to say, but if they're not delivering it well on camera, as heartbreaking as it is, you have to kind of cut what is usable and what's not usable. And in dealing with older people, you might have an interview scheduled, and then all of a sudden that interview just drops out because they're suddenly not well, or they've lost a partner, and the time's not right for them to speak. And so I think that combined with people that want to be a part of it, we put out to a lot of families who were members of the Centaur Association here in Australia, who would like to share their story. And so instead of 20 people coming back and saying, yes, I've got a story to share, you've got 60. So whose story do you choose? Does it come down to location, ease of filming, ease of access, or does it come down to the most dynamic story? So it's difficult juggle, and you have to make those decisions, almost, you could have a substitute person for an interview if one doesn't work. So yeah, it's quite a difficult task at some points.
What are your further distribution plans for getting this out to a wider Australian or maybe worldwide public?
Distribution plans for the films that we create are tricky because we operate as a charity here in Australia, a registered charity. We don't have a nice little fund in the bank to go out with a marketing ploy or something to get the films out. So, at this stage in our development as a charity here in Australia, we're happy to have our films play in the film festival circle, and also we have done some premiere screenings in the past here in certain, I guess you'd say, niche audiences. For example, we've already screened Centaur at the Caloundra RSL. Caloundra probably about 80 kilometers from here, but closer to where the Centaur actually sunk in Moreton Bay. So we did that on a commemoration day back in 2023, and we're always looking for an opportunity to make sure these films get out to the public for free. We don't put a price tag on them. We want to share them with the community because that fits in with the ethos of why we actually founded the charity.
Maybe there's still one more thing that would interest me. Are there already plans for your next project? Is it also, I guess, historical? Is it something that tackles history of Australia, or will you look into Canada or somewhere else?
I'd love to if I could get back home for a while, but yeah, we've always as a charity that does veteran projects, we have a lot of ideas floating around at any time, and we're currently working on one that should see us filming in Western Australia and in Crete, hopefully in September or October this year. So one of the themes that our charity has looked at in the past 2 years was the Battle of Crete and Australia's involvement in the Battle of Crete, particularly because we've interviewed the last 2 surviving World War II veterans of the Battle of Crete, and we're looking at doing something further, something that's a uniquely Anzac story, and should stand out quite well as an unknown story that we want to share with the community.
So is there a title we can look forward to?
Oh, look, I don't have a working title at the moment. At the moment, it's just called Preveli. So Preveli, Preveli, yeah. So it's a mirror town. What do you call them? A sister town, or there's a Preveli in Crete, and there's also a Preveli in Western Australia, founded by a World War II veteran that came home. So yeah.
Okay, great. So Jeff, once more, thank you a lot for submitting your film to our festival. All people out there, you're invited to watch Centaur when our festival airs. Jeff, we are at the end of our interview, so we finish up now.
Yeah.
And we thank you a lot for taking your time.
Oh, and maybe if there is a way for interested audience or other filmmakers to get in touch with you, which one would be the best?
Best option probably is go to our website, which is just thisstory.com.au, and have a look. Get in touch with us. Send us an email, or follow us on socials. We have a Facebook page. We have LinkedIn. We have Instagram. So yeah, get in touch. Send us a message. We'd be happy to communicate. And you know what? We should be collaborating globally. So let's get at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll tag all of these in our blog posts and in our Facebook posts and the like. And we try to get people together in the festival in general. And so your invitation for this is very welcome. Thanks, Jeff.
Excellent. Thanks very much, guys.